Well, it's not even what you need to know, it's what you need to ask yourself. And the first question I would ask is, are you ready to learn to teach yoga? And what we mean by that is, are you ready to become a student in a really rigorous way? Because you're going to be learning about philosophy, you're going to be learning about anatomy, alignment, cues, how to teach people to get in and out of poses. There's so many things and plates that a yoga teacher spins. So are you ready to jump into that almost academic pursuit? And really become from a practitioner to a yoga teacher. That transition is a big one. Are you ready for that journey? So ask yourself that. And the second thing I would ask is, would you be a natural at teaching? And not only teaching, but teaching yoga. Chances are, if you have taught something and you've had a knack for it, or it's been somewhat intuitive for you to teach really well. It could be you were a camp counselor, or in your current job you end up leading and teaching people a lot, then that might be something that indicates that you will in fact be a natural teacher. If that's the case, I would go for it. The biggest challenges that yoga teachers face today, I would say, are getting our practice in. That's a big one, because when you live and breathe and teach yoga all day long, by the time you get on your mat, you kind of don't want to have anything to do with yoga. And then of course it's hard time-wise to fit it all in. There are a lot of things you can do and tricks you can put together to get yourself on the mat. And you do need to get on the mat, because that's honing your craft. That's keeping you inspired so that when you're working with students, you have a lot of juice and a lot of energy to share about your own practice. A second concern I think a lot of yoga teachers have is how competitive it is and how crowded the marketplace is. And that leads to concerns about financial stability and filling our yoga classes. So that's a big concern, and there's definitely ways around that as well. The third issue is, and this is a kind of newer issue that I've seen in the last few years, not as typical, but it's definitely getting more and more up there for yoga teachers in terms of being nervous about this career, and that is our self-esteem going down the toilet because of social media and teaching yoga. There's so much pressure to be posting on social media and putting up pictures of ourselves in yoga poses, and having a large following, and fear of missing out because one yoga teacher is doing something and we're not, and this retreat is happening and ours isn't. And there's a lot of this competitive comparing that can go on. And so being secure in your own self and focusing on accomplishing your own goals and focusing on living your own life and being real and authentic in your teaching, these are things that will help with some of the anxiety that social media can produce in us today as yoga teachers. I do think it's important, and it's funny because I used to tell people, yoga teachers, hey, it's okay if you don't relate to social media, don't worry about it. You can promote yourself in old school ways and traditional marketing ways, and don't worry about social media. But I have changed my tune, and the reason for that is in recent years, we've been bombarded with this statistic that 50% of the population is under 30. And 30 and under tends to drive the trends in the marketplace. And guess what? Those under 30-year-olds, i.e. 50% of the population, are on social media. So if you're wanting to reach out to half the population of the world with your yoga, with your yoga offerings, it might be a really good idea to get on social media. Now, the other thing to know about social media is that you've heard this before, word of mouth is the biggest form of marketing. It's the most important way that somebody finds out about you. And you've probably heard this too, that social media is word of mouth on steroids. So is it important to be on social media? Now I think it is. The thing I hope that people take away from our book the most is to remember that teaching yoga, as enjoyable as it is and as much of a lifestyle as it is a profession, not a hobby. And to think of this not only personally, how that might affect you if you start to take your yoga career in terms of it being a profession versus a hobby, what that could do for you personally, but also what that could do to hold space for the rest of the profession and for the rest of your fellow yoga teachers. Because when you hold your career as a profession, you don't undermine other professionals, but in fact, you elevate other professionals. So the whole thing goes up when we start to treat our yoga teaching professionally.